When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world.
I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin versus the World. I'm SeptumSin. I'm here with Kotobuki Jake.
Hey,
We're here with another top 15 list.
it's going to be fun.
This is another one of our Academy Award winning lists. Of course, we'll do a follow-up list after the awards are over, but
Why didn't you tell me we won an Academy Award?
Yeah, I know.
Congratulations! Congratulations! Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations! Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations!
Congratulations! Thank you all.
Ooh. I didn't know they were giving them out for webcasts.
Yeah, you didn't realize it actually premiered in LA County and actually screened the entire way through. As our other top 15. All right, so I'm going to actually give it over to you.
Okay.
Because this way you can explain to them what they want to know.
All right, so hopefully you watched our previous video because it was great. But we did a video on the 15 individuals we felt were most overdue for an Oscar nomination. This time we're going to focus on 15 individuals who have been nominated but are overdue to win. So the criteria here, obviously, an Oscar nomination, that's a basic one. And they, just like with the last one, we're looking at people who are still working, who are still theoretically available to win, which unfortunately this past week we had to, he wasn't really on the list, but he could have been. We had to remove the late Albert Finney from consideration because he was a 5-time nominee who never won. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us. So, you know, just a brief moment for him since we're not really doing our celebrity passings videos anymore. But he may had already retired, I think, because Skyfall was his last film.
Yeah.
But he still was a good one. A really good example of what we're thinking of. There's a lot of people who have been nominated. 5 is actually fairly small. There's several people who've been nominated in double digits. Last year, I think, or the year before, Roger Deakins finally got off of that list. Good for him. But there's still some that are on there. And then there's still the, we're going to talk about a couple people who are in contention this year who could very well break the streak. And, you know, good for them. You know, it'd be awesome. And other than that, I guess that's most of the basic
All right, if we're ready to get started,
Let's get started.
I'm leading us off with number 15.
Yes.
All right. So the first one I'm starting off with is Glenn Close. Now, she's been well rewarded for her activity, winning 60 awards and nominated 109 times.
Not bad.
She's had she's had minor stuff in writing and directing, but 84 acting credits. With a decent number of producing and soundtrack credits.
Now, it's worth noting that she does a fair bit of television. She's one of the few big movie stars who's very comfortable moving back and forth between the two. So that's one of the reasons why IMDb has fewer credits for her. It's really a lot of work.
And there are several of those on this list, I believe.
Yeah.
Now, she's had 7 Oscar nominations.
Yes.
Including for Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress. This is the only, actually, one of 2 that I have on the list that I have included only, unless you count honorable mentions, only the nominated films because there's so many.
Yeah.
Of course, she's nominated this year for The Wife, But then there was Albert Nobbs, which she really did an exquisite job on. Overlooked film. You should check it out if you haven't. Dangerous Liaisons, Fatal Attraction, The Natural, The Big Chill, and The World According to Garp. I admit, I have not seen The World According to Garp.
I still need to see it too.
But I have seen the rest, and she is an amazing actress.
You saw The Wife?
Yeah? Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't seen The Wife yet either.
Okay.
I want to see it. It's on my list. Isn't that the one that you're getting in?
Well, I'm on the library list. I was going to be forever. I may Redbox it this week.
But all things considered, she has put in a lot of work. And though I don't think she's going to get it this year, it's definitely worth mentioning.
Well, there's a possibility because she is one of those people who is one of those people where the narrative of it is her time.
Yeah.
It's probably loudest for her. She is the one that everyone has been saying, okay, could she get it this year? There's like 3 or 4 on this list, but she's the big one. And as far as her films that he mentioned, he was actually reading them in reverse order. The first 3 were supporting actress nods. The World According to Garp, The Big Chill, and The Natural, and the others were all actress nods. Albert Nobbs and The Natural are actually the only ones on that list I've seen, which is sad. I need to see. I've never seen The Big Chill, and I need to. But I will admit, in both of those films, she was excellent, and she possibly should have won, at least for The Natural.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I could not think of a film she had been snubbed for because she has done relatively few films. I thought maybe Paradise Road because she was really good in that. But, yeah. But anyway, the next one on the list does not have as many awards to his name, apparently, although this could be a function of IMDb being very spotty on anime.
Yeah.
But number 14 is
Is it pause? So,
all right, number 14.
yes.
So one of the big behind the scenes names, one of the biggest behind the scenes names in anime is Toshio Suzuki. Most people know the name Hayao Miyazaki. A lot of them know Isao Takahata. Suzuki was the third who went together with them to form Studio Ghibli. And he has apparently only been won 2 awards according to IMDb. He's probably won more. And they've got 9 nominations listed. He has dabbled in writing, acting, a couple other things. He's mostly a producer, and IMDb does list 32 credits for him. But his Oscar history is 2 nominations for animated feature as producer for Kaze Tachinu, aka The Wind Rises, and La Tortue Rouge, The Red Turtle. He, in addition to these, he did not share with Hayao Miyazaki the nominations for Spirited Away or Howl's Moving Castle because when the animated feature started, there was 1 nominee per. They changed the rules the year The Wind Rises came out, so he kind of got snubbed on a technicality for those 2 movies. But those have been his closest shots at Oscar so far. And he definitely should have won for The Wind Rises. I don't give a damn if it was up against Frozen. It should have beat Frozen. Yeah. But that wasn't going to happen. And The Red Turtle was pretty damn good too. If it had won, that would have been a good one. But let's look at the snubs. You've got the technical snubs for animated feature for Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle. You also have actual snubs from the Academy for animated feature for Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence, Ponyo, The Secret World of Arrietty, From Up on Poppy Hill, and, well, Only Yesterday if it counted, which I think it did, and Arrietty if it was submitted, which I think it wasn't. And he should have been up for Best Picture for Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, The Wind Rises, and theoretically Only Yesterday. Those are some pretty freaking huge snubs. And it comes down to the Academy just not caring about animation in general and
Yeah.
anime in particular. But Suzuki is one of the most snubbed people I could think of. And, you know, I mean, Miyazaki's actually won, and Takahata's no longer with us. I almost put Hiromasa Yonebayashi, who, if we do this list again, he'll make that one. Unless he's won in the meantime. But did you have anything more to comment on with this guy? Or?
No, not really. I think you
Okay.
hit all of the points.
Good deal.
All right, number 13.
Another one in contention this year.
Yes, Amy
Yes.
Adams. I tried to get a lot of women on the list. Matter of fact, the only one that I have that was not a shared one
Holy
with
crap,
you
that's a lot of nominations.
was there. So Amy Adams has really, really been active.
Oh, yeah.
70 wins, 220 nominations. 59 acting roles, and of course, with her being active in TV, take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, she starred in Sharp Objects, and she got a Golden Globe nod. I don't think a win.
Sharp Objects really got a lot of
need to
a
see
lot of
that.
attention.
Yeah.
But 11 soundtrack nods. She's had 6 nominations.
Yeah.
6 Oscar nominations: Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress. And I'll start from the beginning this time. Junebug, Doubt, The Fighter, The Master, American Hustle, and Vice. Now, I'm going to say I'm not really good with the concept of the snubs beforehand, but I think there was a snub as far as a win is concerned. And I thought that The Master was overlooked.
The movie was boring as hell, though.
But her
She
acting
was
job
she was
amazing.
great in the movie, but it was so tedious. But I personally thought Junebug and The Fighter were two that she could have won for. But it's worth noting that Junebug was from 2005. She has been nominated 6 times in 13 years.
That's
a pretty good
heavy bit of
Yeah.
stuff there. But that's the last one that I don't have any.
But notice again, 70 wins and 220 nominations.
A lot of nominations.
That's a lot of nominations. And yeah, I had put down a couple potential snubs. The first film I think I ever saw her in, going a little bit further back to 2002, she was in Spielberg's Catch Me If You Can. And that one and Charlie Wilson's War were potential supporting actress snubs. There were 1 soft and 2 major actress snubs. I think she could have gotten an actress nod for Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day. She was majorly snubbed in Arrival and Enchanted. She should have been up for those 2 films. But Enchanted was so great. I can't
Enchanted
believe it.
Enchanted was snubbed in and of itself.
Yeah, it really was. And so next, and of course she's up this year for playing Lynn Chaney in Vice. And she did a pretty solid job in the film. She really did. So we'll see what happens.
Well,
So next up we've got number 12.
woohoo!
Yes. And number 12 is one that is also relatively recent on the scene, but since he has arrived, I do feel he has had one major unconscionable snub from Oscar and some minor ones, and I'm becoming a huge fan. And we're talking about former Flight of the Conchords star and scribe Taika Waititi, who, along with his Conchords co-star Jermaine Clement, wrote and directed a wonderful little film called What We Do in the Shadows, which should have been up for a screenplay nomination. Waititi has scored 58 wins and 32 additional nominations. He is a multiple threat writer, director, producer, actor. He did a wonderful, if they do an Oscar for vocal acting, you know, he did a wonderful vocal acting performance in Thor Ragnarok. Waititi has been nominated once for Best Live Action Short for a film called 2 Cars and One Night. And he has had a few nominations, he's had a few short films. But in addition to What We Do in the Shadows, he should have had adapted screenplay and possibly director nods for The Hunt for the Wilder People. He was criminally snubbed in the best director race for Thor Ragnarok. He should have had that in the bag. That was just such a brilliant film, and he had had his fingerprints all over it. And one could argue if they were eligible, because you never know with shorts. But if the Team Thor and Team Dwayne or whatever shorts, he directed those two. So if they're eligible, then they would definitely be. But that's all I have to say on him. But he is one that I had to give him a shout out.
Well, those Thor shorts were entertaining. That is for sure.
Yeah.
All right, number 12. Well, this one is another one that, in my opinion, has been doing this for a bit of time. We've heard the name over and over again, and that is Kate Hudson. I don't think anybody can say they haven't heard about Kate Hudson. She's had 17 award wins, 37 nominations, and she has had one Oscar nod for supporting actress. Now, to me, I think that she has been overlooked, and I really do feel like she did kind of lose out with Almost Famous. Almost Famous was an excellent film.
And she was great in the film.
And she was a really good actress in it. And of course, we have a disagreement with The Four Feathers. I thought she did excellently in The Four Feathers.
I mean, I thought she did well. I just thought it was a tedious film that just wasn't all that great.
Well, so was The Master, but I still...
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
tedious in a different way.
Then, of course, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Now, I admit most people wouldn't say Oscar-level performance for a comedy. But to me, if we're looking at something that's a personal, I think the comedy is snubbed way too much by the Oscars. And she did a great performance in this. For those who haven't seen it, it is quite funny. She's dating this person, and she takes a bet on, well, I'm going to date him, and then I'm going to get him to break up with me by being the worst possible person but she could definitely be. And she really did a great job with that. I thought it was a hilarious film, and I think a lot of people have overlooked it.
Well, along those lines, she and her co-star Matthew McConaughey, I love them both in Fool's Gold. You know, I wouldn't say it's necessarily, I wouldn't say it's Oscar level, but it was good, solid acting, and Hudson does good, solid acting. And it's worth noting that two of her most recent films were Oscar bait films that did manage to score Oscar nominations. She was in Marshall, which I still need to see. And I did see Deepwater Horizon, and I will admit she was pretty good in that film. So Almost Famous is the only one that I genuinely would put her and Oscar in the same conversation, but she has potential to make her way back there. I mean, Deepwater Horizon was a good indication that she could do a little bit of variety, and that was a film that was overlooked overall. It was, I think it got sound nominations.
Actually, this is one I'm surprised you didn't put at number 1.
Oh no, but this is one that because I was trying to look at overall things, but this is one that I feel strongly about. Number 10. And I am speaking also. We've got another person who has a single Oscar nomination in the supporting actress category, and her name is Rinko Kikuchi. Now, if you've watched this channel much, you know that I love Rinko Kikuchi. I love her.
I wouldn't have guessed.
She's got 9 nominations and 9 wins and 31 nominations. She's had a very long and storied career in Japan, doing both film and television. And I've seen several of her films, some of which I wouldn't really put forward as Oscar-level films, like The Brothers Bloom and Assault Girls. And she had a great vocal acting role in Skycrawlers, you know. But her one Oscar nomination she probably should have won for was playing a deaf teenager dealing with very serious anger management issues in Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu's world-spanning film Babel. And that was just a great film overall. And she was one of, I think, 2 people who got acting nods for the film. And I always thought her plot line, the one with her and I think it's Koji Yakusho, their plot line was much more tangential to the rest of the film, but it was still very well done.
Oh, yeah.
And she was brilliant in the role. But since then, she has had a couple of potential nods. The Map of the Sounds of Tokyo was one that she did a really good job in. I really want to see Norwegian Wood, but if it's anywhere as good as what The Reputation. But I have seen one that she got robbed by not getting a Best Actress nod for this performance. She was in a weird, strange little film by the Zellner brothers called Kumiko the Treasure Hunter. And she's brilliant. The film itself can be a little tedious and weird, but she's brilliant, and she fully deserved a nod for that one. She could have won in my book.
And is attached to the Coen brothers.
Somewhat. Yeah, basically it's based on the urban legend about the Japanese office worker who supposedly went to Minnesota after watching Fargo to look for the money. There's a darker story behind that, but it's an interesting story. And the Zellner brothers took that and ran with it and made a film that's kind of a fairy tale sort of film. And it's really interesting. But
I need to see, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, number 9. All right, well, we've talked about people who are fun, and I know you like this one pretty well.
Yes, I like this one.
Mainly because, I remember one of the first things you're like, wow, she's playing Kitty Pryde.
Yes.
And, of course, we're talking about Ellen Page.
Yes.
Now, Ellen Page is no slouch when it comes to awards.
No.
She has won 43 of them and been nominated 66 times.
Probably most of them for the film that she got the Oscar nod
Now,
for.
600 more nominations, and you got the Mark of the Beast.
Yes.
Not that that's important when it comes to acting, but I think so. I think it has like a position of power.
Well, it worked for Christian Bale, apparently.
Yeah, there you go. She's produced 6 films, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Acted in 50, and has been on 3 soundtracks. Of course, the one nomination for Best Actress was for Juno. Now, I think that she deserved that nomination. Juno was an excellent film. Many people say it's overrated. I disagree.
I love it.
I really have enjoyed that film. So to me, more power to her. Now, I have 2 that I think that she should have gotten a nomination for. Hard Candy being the greater of the 2. I hate that movie.
Yeah, it's a hard film to watch.
As far as films go, she did an exquisite job of acting in that film. And then, of course, I also put Super, because Super was fun.
Yes.
She played a fun character, and I thought it would be worth having a small nod. Again, I believe that comedy is much overrated, and Super, I really do believe, got snubbed as a movie in and of itself.
Super did do one thing that pissed me off. They played rape for comedy.
Yeah.
That pisses me off. However, the idea of Ellen Page raping Rainn Wilson, it is funny in a horrible way. Hard Candy also has some very difficult
very
stuff.
hard.
Now that was was it Patrick Wilson that co-starred?
I think so. Huh?
And it's pretty much them.
Yeah.
Like Sandra Oh shows up for 2 minutes. And then it's pretty much them. It's 2 people. And it takes a lot of skill for 2 people to carry an entire film.
It carried a lot of emotions with it.
Yeah.
And anything that can provoke emotion like that, it's, what was the word that they said in Harry Potter? Terrible. Oh, yes.
Yes.
But great.
Yes.
Much the same.
The other one that I would cite Miss Page for was a supporting actress nod for Inception. Inception was such a well-regarded film. It was very well, and everyone talked about the technical expertise and everything, but the acting was solid in the film.
Yeah.
And I do think it's one of her better roles, so that
I
could
don't
have
know
been
why I'd
good.
forgotten that one.
Yeah.
I kept thinking you were going to say the one with Woody Allen, and I would have definitely corrected that. I didn't think she did the best.
She hated that one.
This-
Yeah, that's... yeah. Next up, we have a name that should be very familiar to Oscar geeks, but may not be as familiar to or to music people who actually look at the songwriter, but may not be as familiar to everyone else. And so number 8. And this is one of the most egregiously, what the hell is going on? Why don't you just give her a win already that I have on my list? And I'm speaking, of course, of Diane Warren. The songwriter known for Cher's I Can Turn Back Time, which is not an original film, but she has 25 wins and 54 nominations to her credit. Now, I wonder if these are all movie related or if they include Grammys and stuff like that.
That's possible.
I don't know. But anyway, listen to this list here. Okay. Best Original Song, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now from Mannequin. Because You Loved Me from Up Close and Personal. How Do I Live from Con Air. I Don't Want to Miss a Thing from Armageddon.
Awesome.
Music of My Heart from Music of the Heart. There You'll Be from Pearl Harbor. Grateful from Beyond the Lights. Till It Happens to You from The Hunting Ground. Stand Up for Something from Marshall. And this year's contender, I'll Fight from RBG. Those are the ones she's been nominated for. The fact that she did not win for that Aerosmith song is pretty criminal.
Especially since it was the first song that they ever got that individually was number 1 on the charts.
Right. And it came out my senior year of high school. That song was everywhere. It was entirely ubiquitous. And it holds the distinction of not only being a major pop cultural touchstone, people still think of the movie when they think of the song, which doesn't always happen with some of these. Like, who the hell even remembers Mannequin? You know?
I do.
And I'll admit, I've never seen Up Close and Personal. Now, I know it's entirely uncool for a guy to say my favorite Celine Dion song, but that song is very important to me personally. How Do I Live is very important to me personally. And I think we can all agree that everyone thought Till It Happens to You was going to win. And when it didn't, and when that freaking Sam Smith song won, I was a little bit furious at that. But these are some, in addition to all those, she wrote the music for Coyote Ugly, Can't Fight the Moonlight, But I Do Love You. And she wrote a song for Cher for Burlesque, You Haven't Seen the Last of Me. Those songs should have been nominated too. So this is someone who is way overdue. And she doesn't have a shot in hell of winning this year either. But that song from RBG is pretty darn good. You know? But you know she doesn't have a shot because the Academy said, we're going to invite Kendrick Lamar and Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga to sing. But the rest of you, they changed their mind. Everyone's performing now. But that let us know right there, you know.
So they did finally change their mind about the
everyone's doing like 90-second versions.
Thank
you know,
goodness.
it's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. I swear the show has gone downhill.
Yeah.
The only thing I wanted to add is just the sheer number of soundtrack credits. 298.
Damn. Now a lot of that are reuses of, like for example, I Can Turn Back Time was featured this year in the Deadpool 2. So, you know, that's not original to the...
But still.
Yeah, that's used a lot.
It shows that even if it's used in the soundtrack, you've produced something
if you've watched,
that people want to grab.
If you've watched a movie that dates after about 1984, where she co-wrote a song on Ghostbusters, you've heard her music in the movies.
Number 7.
Yeah.
This is the last of the ones that I actually picked out without help. This one is also my last actual presentation. And that is for M. Night Shyamalan. Matter of fact, he was the very first person I thought of. And in truth, I'll admit, I have a hard time with names. Not just actors' names, but people's names. I remember it taking half a year for me to get my coworker's name correct, and I worked with her every day. So for me to actually come up with a name off the top of my head, that is huge. So I had to keep this one on my list. And to be fair, we are starting to see a resurgence from Shyamalan. 14 award wins, 38 nominations. He has 16 director credits, 17 writer credits, and has produced almost as many. He has had 2 nominations of director and original screenplay for, I believe, The Sixth Sense, which everybody knows him for.
Oh, yeah.
But I believe that the man is more than just The Sixth Sense, though many would disagree with that, especially after Glass has come out to meh from a lot of people. But let's not forget 3 films, and I'm going to list them in order of ones that I felt like should have gotten nods. Unbreakable, since we're talking about Glass. Matter of fact, the 2 others in the trilogy are in my list. But Unbreakable was a spectacular film. He should have had a nomination. If anything, it was worth a nod to nominate. Not necessarily win, but nominate.
Right.
Signs. Signs had its issues, but it was very intense. It held its feeling throughout. If you got rid of the end where it's like, oh darn, water kills them, and they go to a planet that's mostly water. But to me, still well acted, well directed film. Worth having a nod. But the one that I truly feel was a snub was Split. Split of all of them was a return to form, in my opinion. The Visit was good. I thought The Visit was definitely a step up from where he was. But considering where he was, But Split was a spectacular film. I hate that it got a snub. I think it's just because he had so many misses before that he didn't get that. I think if he had still been going strong, if Split had been his follow-up to, say, Unbreakable, then I think he would have gotten a nomination.
I'm surprised you didn't argue for Lady in the Water.
No. I know how much people dislike that film.
I will admit, I fully agree that if nothing else, he was arguably snubbed as a screenplay nod for both Split and Unbreakable. He definitely should have gotten... The biggest snub for Split, I thought, was James McAvoy for the acting. He should have been up for Best Actor. But they're good. I'm disappointed that Glass got the reception it did, but, I'll have to see it one of these days.
I had higher hopes.
Yeah, exactly. So, next up, number 6. I'm getting better with the numbers.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Number 6, we have a man who has been nominated 14 times.
49 times.
For Oscar. For Oscar.
Okay, yeah.
14 times for Oscar. Thomas Newman. He has 49 wins and 101 additional nominations. He is a composer. The films for which he has Oscar nominations, he has original score nominations for Little Women, The Shawshank Redemption, American Beauty, Road to Perdition, Finding Nemo, A Series of Unfortunate Events, The Good German, Wall-E, Skyfall, Saving Mr. Banks, Bridge of Spies, Passengers, original score musical or comedy, which they did for a couple of years apparently, for Unstrung Heroes, and original song shared with Peter Gabriel for Wall-E's song Down to Earth. So there's a little bit of variety in the nominations, but all musical. Setting aside for a moment the fact that I don't believe Skyfall was an original score, because it made very liberal use of Bond themes that have been around for 50 years now. That's a pretty freaking impressive resume right there. He should have won for American Beauty and Road to Perdition, and probably also for Bridge of Spies. In addition to that, among the many other possible snubs, Fried Green Tomatoes, Scent of a Woman, The Horse Whisperer, The Green Mile, Aaron Brockovich, In the Bedroom, Little Children, The Help, The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, Victoria and Abdul. That's some... Yeah. This guy needs an Oscar. He needs an Oscar. He's
That's a
overdue.
That's a lot of composer
Right.
credits.
And that's just, like I said, I didn't even do all of them. One of the oldest ones I found that's attributed to him was Real Genius. I didn't think that's really Oscar level, but it's a great score.
Oh, it's a good movie too.
Yeah. So that's just, yeah, I mean, 14 nominations. Give the poor guy a break. So,
All right.
and now we have another composer, number 5. And this was one of the first ones that jumped to my mind. This is one of the people that I am always complaining about his Oscar history. He is one of my absolute favorite movie composers, Carter Burwell. He has 29 wins and 76 nominations to his credit overall. But he got his very first Oscar nomination for Carol. What was that, 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Carol has a great score. But it came out the same year that he did a better score. I thought Mr. Holmes was a better score. But it took him that long. Carter Burwell's first ever movie assignment was scoring the Coen brothers' debut, Blood Simple. And he has done music for every film they've done since. He hasn't necessarily been the composer. Like, for example, O Brother Art Thou, he just did a little bit of additional music, you know? Like, he probably helped with some of the arrangements. But that's really it. But he has done music for the Coens from the beginning of their career. They started his career. But he has branched out considerably. And, you know, Carol, Todd Haynes' film, Mr. Holmes was, can't remember who did that. And then last year, he got a nomination, his second, for Martin McDonagh's 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is a great score. It's a really great score. But he probably could have won for either one of those scores in my mind. He really could have. He did the scores for McDonagh's other films, In Bruges and Seven Psychopaths. But among the others that he has done, he probably could have been considered a snub for Blood Simple, Raising Arizona, The Hudsucker Proxy, Rob Roy, The Spanish Prisoner, Gods and Monsters, Being John Malkovich, Three Kings, Hamlet, Intolerable Cruelty, The Lady Killers, The Hoax, No Country for Old Men, Twilight. He actually did really good music for Twilight, I have to admit. The Serious Man, The Blind Side, True Grit, Mr. Holmes, Hail Caesar, The Founder, Goodbye Christopher Robin, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, bringing him up to this year. But the 2 most egregious snubs of all. Fargo, one of the greatest scores ever written, one of the most iconic scores ever written, and the one that's even better, Miller's Crossing. Carter Burwell really should have gotten nods for those 2 films. It's criminal that he didn't. Even more so because Miller's Crossing got nothing. It was completely left out.
Oh, yeah.
But,
well, actually, in all fairness, I have no remembrance of Miller's Crossing other than it was a mob film.
Yeah, you just need to see it. Well, just listen to the music, you'll know what I'm talking about. But anyway, it's an absolutely gorgeous score. It really is. Fargo's a whole lot simpler, but it definitely is an iconic score. But yeah, I mean, this dude, he makes great music. And it baffles me that it took the Academy so long to notice him. You know, they give John Williams 2 nominations a year, almost every year.
For the same thing.
For the same thing. Yeah, John Williams has how many Star Wars nominations?
I was surprised he didn't get one for the theme this year. Or did
I
he
don't
not
think,
do
no,
it?
he
I don't
didn't
think he
do
didn't
it.
do it. Yeah.
No,
I think he stopped at the last film.
I can't remember who did solo, but anyway, it wasn't John Williams. But anyway, so that's Carter Burwell. So we're ready for the other one, I guess?
Yeah, these are going to be the top 4 that we've done, that we
Yes.
kind of did together. I am stepping back from this for a good reason.
Yeah.
Now, I will try and participate by giving out the number of award wins and nominations.
Well, also, you have opinions on some of these people,
But,
too.
you know, basically, I was looking at my list and I was trying to figure it out, and then I saw his list, and so I said, these look like people I should use, so I threw them on there. And so to me, I was looking and saying, I'm not 100% sure I've gotten the right spirit of the list, but I know these 4 are in the spirit of this list. So since they were originally on your list, I said you should handle those 4.
And the next 3 are actually all in contention this year. So maybe this will be the year where they, So number 4. We have this year's supporting actor nominee who has never been nominated before in 50 years of acting, Sam Elliott.
My goodness.
He has been starring in films since the end of the 60s, and this is the first time that he is up for an award at the Oscars. Now, granted, his overall awards history is weak, 19 wins and 31 nominations, but that's kind of sad too. But he's got a writing credit, some producer credits, 99 acting credits. He's worked pretty hard, and a lot of those are TV credits, so a lot of those are actually ongoing long-term credits. But he is, of course, up this year for supporting actor for A Star Is Born. I did see A Star Is Born over the weekend, and Sam Elliott does a great job in the film. He does do a great job, and he really, really does. And he could win. I'm not really holding out my hope. Honestly, if he does, it'll partly be the Academy trying to make up for lost time. But he does do a phenomenal job. But he has had at least 2 nominations that he really should have had, but I kind of put down as a potential snubs. He probably could have been up for supporting actor for Tombstone, The Big Lebowski, The Contender, I'll See You in My Dreams, those, maybe Grandma. There were several really good ones that he did. I don't think I'm going to push for Best Actor for Frogs, but I kind of want to. But 2 that he was criminally snubbed for. He really should have been up for supporting actor for Thank You for Smoking. He was brilliant in that film. And that was a film that Oscar just left out in the cold. Thank You for Smoking was such a great, great film.
I was surprised.
And he did a great job. And then there was a weird little film that came out last year that was weird, and the plot of a Sam Elliott dating Laura Prepon kind of was a little bit of an ick factor there. But he did a film called The Hero, where he played an old Western star who is coming to a crossroad, kind of an end of his career, looking back on a life of being associated with one particular role. And he's the Western guy, like he is the cowboy. That is what he's known as. And so this film had sort of a biographical feel to it, but he nailed it.
Yeah.
And he really should have been up for an Oscar for that film. But, he finally got a nod. We'll see if he wins.
And I tell you, he should have gotten a nod for Best Mustache. Oh, wait, that's not an award. Oh, well,
Hair and makeup.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Best Mustache. Huh?
Any number of films where he could have helped them get a hair and makeup nod. I don't know. He might have had competition with Tom Selleck some years, right?
Yeah. They could have dueled it out. Both mustaches could have fought in like a ring, and that would be a...
Okay, there we go. Okay, so next year we're going to have a movie starring Sam Elliott and Tom Selleck called Dueling Mustaches. Oh, man. Hopefully they don't matter. So, number 3. And this is a guy that doesn't have a mustache, but this is a guy that actually I could almost see directing that film just for shits and giggles, as they say. One of the somewhat more surprising also-rans, given that the critics adore him. His films almost get immediate Criterion releases, almost. And the Academy likes him too.
The Academy still likes him.
Wes Anderson has never won. He's been nominated 7 times. He was nominated for Original Screenplay for The Royal Tenenbaums, Moonrise Kingdom, and The Grand Budapest Hotel, Animated Feature for The Fantastic Mr. Fox and Isle of Dogs, Director for The Grand Budapest Hotel, and Best Picture for The Grand Budapest Hotel. So he has done reasonably good for himself at the Oscar, but he has never won. Now, I personally think that he should have won that screenplay nod for Moonrise Kingdom. Moonrise Kingdom was awesome. It got short shrifted at the Oscars. And Grand Budapest Hotel, he probably should have won something for it. The biggest snub by far in that one had to do with Ray Fine not getting an acting nod. But I do think he could have been considered a snub for screenplay for Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, The Darjeeling Limited, Isle of Dogs, director for Rushmore, The Darjeeling Limited, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Moonrise Kingdom, adapted screenplay for Fantastic Mr. Fox, and Best Picture for Moonrise Kingdom. All of those are potential nominations that he really could have deserved. And again, I think Moonrise Kingdom overall was underrated. He could have gotten a win off of that, and I've been perfectly happy. He is, of course, up this year for Isle of Dogs for animated feature. So if he wins, that's going to be kind of a random win.
Upset.
That will, yes. He has no shot in hell of winning this year. That would be a huge upset. Huge upset. It's between Spider-Man and Incredibles. Let's be honest. We both want Mirai to win, but it's between Incredibles and Spider-Man. Anderson...
While they're duking it out, Isle of Dogs will sneak in behind and come out for the win.
Yes. But he is working on a film called The French Dispatch that looks pretty interesting. He is an actively hard-working dude whose name shows up in multiple categories for every film he does. So he has a lot of potential to win in the future. It's just shocking that he hasn't done it yet.
And one of the few on this list that I have seen all of his works, or at least all of his directing works.
Actually, 69 wins and 162 nominations. I don't think we said that yet. Yeah,
that's a lot for him.
Right.
I don't think there's anything else that's major. I mean, he's been on one soundtrack.
Yeah.
Well, number 2.
Number 2, another one that's somewhat shocking that he's overlooked, but not entirely. But number 2, one who is up this year in the director category for the first time ever, if you can believe it, is Spike Lee. Spike Lee has had 68 wins over the years, 125 nominations. His Oscar history is fascinating. He has 3 nominations this year that brings him up to a grand total of 5.
And he has won some BAFTAs.
Right. But the really cool thing, I don't know if you noticed this, 5 nominations, every single one in a different category.
Yeah.
He was nominated all the way back in '89 for original screenplay for Do the Right Thing. He was nominated in the mid-'90s or late '90s or whenever it was for Best Documentary Feature for Four Little Girls. And this year he's up for Adapted Screenplay Director and Best Picture for Black Klansman. Spike Lee is way overdue for a little bit more credit from Oscar. I have to admit, reluctantly, that I've only seen a few of his films, and some of them I would not really put as Oscar-level films. I've never seen Four Little Girls. I need to see it. I have seen Do the Right Thing, and I will admit that as a potential snub, he could have won Best Direct or Best Original Screenplay, and I think I would have been happy with that. He definitely should have been up for director for that film, and he probably should have been up for Best Picture and Best Actor. He actually acted in the film, or supporting actor. I don't remember if he was. It was an ensemble film,
though it did get a Criterion release.
It did. And I also put down just one of my favorite films I've seen by him was 25th Hour. I put him down as he could have gotten a director nod for that. I would not put Clockers in the Oscar conversation, and Chirac was fascinating, but
No.
weird. It was really weird. But I have you've seen Malcolm X, right?
No.
Oh wow!
Remember,
So
I'm waiting for the American History X Malcolm X.
Yeah, we need to do that. It's. I hate to say I've never seen that, and I don't think I've seen Jungle Fever, so I need to see some of these ones. But I've seen enough to know the dude is.
I just want to hear his speech.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I want to see, assuming he shows up to the ceremony,
Yes.
I want to see his speech. Yes, and Black Klansman was pretty damn good. So if he wins something for the film, he'll
That'd be
deserve
good.
it. You know, yeah,
And he's had such a contentious relationship with the Academy.
yeah.
Well, speaking of contentious relationships, we're getting to the honorable mentions.
Woohoo!
Well, last time I looked at this and I thought we either do a slideshow or we mention each name individually. So we decided just mention them individually, run it quick, and move through. So I'm going to start us off, and then after I'm done, then you can head on after that. So I'm going to be naming these off really quick, rapid fire naming.
Quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Philippe Lassorde, who has one Oscar nomination for cinematography, Yi Daizongshi being the one, and of course a snub for £7.
The Grand Master, right? This is the one that you cited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then of course Joanna Johansson. Johansson.
I was just about to
Joanna Johnston.
I was just about to comment how funny it is that you got the Chinese pretty much right, and then you
She's had 2 nominations for costume design, for Allied and Lincoln. I'm just going to move on from there. Then Gloria Pasqua Casney, who has had 1 nomination for Best Makeup for The Lone Ranger, or The Long Ranger as I've written, but also I thought there was a bit of a snub for Logan. It was excellent
big
makeup.
time. Logan was freaking awesome makeup.
Then, of course, Bradley Cooper, which is one of the biggest names on my list, with a lot of nominations behind him. 7 for Motion Picture, Best Actor, Adapted Screenplay, Supporting Actor, ones including A Star is Born, Silver Linings Playbook, and he has done many others.
Well, he had 3 in a row with Silver Linings Playbook, American Hustle, and American Sniper actor nominations.
So it's about time for him.
Yeah.
Then, of course, Saoirse Ronan, which has 3 nominations, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress. For The Favorite, I thought that Hyde Park on the Hudson... for Lady Bird and Atonement. I'm sorry.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, and Brooklyn, yes. And then, of course, Olivia Colman, which, of course, is up big time this year for Best Actress and for The Favorite. But I also thought she was well overlooked for Hyde Park on the Hudson. I felt like that film had much more potential and yet still did not get quite the love it deserved.
And yeah, she was good in that one.
All right, and I'm done.
And for me, 3 people, or 5 people left over for me. Bruno Calais has 1 single Oscar nomination to his name for original song Va sur ton chemin, or Look to Your Path, from the film Les Choristes, or The Chorus, which I need to see. I've never seen that. But the dude did 3 of the best scores ever written. The Secret of Kells, Coraline, and Song of the Sea. And he also did a gorgeous song for Song of the Sea, which is called Song of the Sea.
Wow.
That is 4 wins he should have had. Didn't even get nominated. Paul Thomas Anderson, of all people, 8 nominations without a win. That's pretty shocking. He's up there in Wes Anderson territory of what the hell. He was nominated for Original Screenplay for Boogie Nights and Magnolia, Adapted Screenplay for There Will Be Blood and Inherent Vice, Director for There Will Be Blood and Phantom Thread, and Best Picture for There Will Be Blood and Phantom Thread. I think he probably should have won for Boogie Nights in the screenplay nod. He definitely was snubbed in Best Director for Boogie Nights, Magnolia, and Punch Drunk Love, and Original Screenplay for Punch Drunk Love, Best Picture for Magnolia. He probably also could be considered a snub for the screenplay for Phantom Thread. Magnolia was one of my favorites, and he should have won something for that film. Anna Belmer, I included because of the sheer numbers. She's a re-recording mixer who has been nominated 10 times without a win. She's been nominated for sound mixing for Braveheart, Evita, LA Confidential, The Thin Red Line, Moulin Rouge, Seabiscuit, The Last Samurai, War of the Worlds, Blood Diamond, and Star Trek. Among the others she's done The River Wild, Heat, X-Men, Shrek, Ali, Catch Me If You Can, Shrek 2, The Terminal, Phantom of the Opera, Blades of Glory, Kung Fu Panda, Thor, Ted, and The Big Short. That's a...
That's a
where's her win? Next up, Naomi Watts. 2 nominations for Best Actress for 21 Grams and The Impossible. I have always maintained and will maintain to my dying day that the Oscars messed up big time, not giving her a Best Actress Oscar, let alone a nomination for Mulholland Drive. And she also could have gotten a nod for Eastern Promises and should have gotten a Supporting Actress nod for Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. She was like one of the only people in Birdman no one really talked about.
Yeah.
And I was like, she was great in that film. And then Ray Fine. Shockingly, 2 nominations in his whole career. Supporting actor for Schindler's List. Best actor for The English Patient. He probably should have won for Schindler's List. He was so great in that film. He was big time. I would say he was snubbed for supporting actor for Hail Caesar because he was great in that film. He was big time snubbed for the Grand Budapest Hotel. He was robbed for the Grand Budapest Hotel. He should have gotten a nod. Incidentally, Saoirse Ronan could have gotten one for that. And, yep, that's mine for that.
All right. So
Number 1.
there's only one person that could possibly make the number 1 spot on anybody's list.
Yes. Bill Murray. I'm sure some of you are scratching your heads about that. But think about it. Murray has only ever been nominated once, but it was for a great role, and that was Lost in Translation. He definitely deserved that nomination. Whether he deserved the win is debatable, but I think he could have.
Yeah.
But he he has had a phenomenal career that has had its highs and lows, and it's completely out of left field of things. But he was a very clear snub, or let's say an arguable snub, for supporting actor for Ghostbusters, Ed Wood, The Royal Tenenbaums, and probably Get Low. He was arguably a snub for Best Actor for What About Bob and Hyde Park on Hudson. I think most people would agree he was a snub for Broken Flowers for Best Actor. But the big ones that I would push, I would say he was support rather than lead in Rushmore, but he definitely deserved a nod for Rushmore. Yeah. And he sure as hell deserved a nod for Wild Things. I'm half joking there, but only half. Wild Things is the movie that introduced me to Bill Murray, the non-comedic actor. He was actually good in that film. But more seriously, the 2 that he got robbed on for Best Actor, he should have been nominated for Groundhog Day and for St. Vincent. Those 2 were both great performances.
I still need to see that.
Yeah, actually, Naomi Watts could have gotten a nod for St. Vincent, but it wasn't as important as Murray getting one. But yeah, that was one that Oscar overlooked. They love Melissa McCarthy, and they didn't give her a nod for that for some reason. Why does Melissa McCarthy have twice the Oscar nominations that Bill Murray does?
So I do have that on there. Okay.
Yeah. Do you know the answer to that?
No.
So anyway, yeah, so there's our list, unless you had some additional stuff on him.
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
Because like you said, Hyde Park on Hudson was kind of overlooked. I mean,
it wasn't as good as it should have been, but it was a good film.
Yeah.
And he did an excellent job.
Right. And he does have a long history with Wes Anderson, which notice I mentioned a couple of his Anderson roles, but the two of them, I think they could be that somewhere down the road comes a film that wins both of them their Oscars.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll see.
Well, with that being
Yep.
said, we will see you on the next one. Remember, let us know
Oh, yeah.
what you think.
Yeah, let us know if there's anyone that we overlooked or anyone that you're like, what are you thinking, man? Where were they? Where was that person? You know, why are
Okay.
you dissing Melissa McCarthy?
Melissa McCarthy should have been at number 1.
Well, she could win this year. We'll see.
That's true.
She could pull a Halle Berry and a Sandra Bullock and win an Oscar and a Razzie.
Best actress for that one.
Incidentally, I had a customer come in today and
Yes.
hand me Happy Time Murders and tell me that it was one of the most disgusting, vulgar things. He said, never let a kid check this out.
Oh, wow. So, do you believe that Happy Time Murders should be viewed by children? Let us know in the comments below. And with that, we will see you on the next one.
Goodbye.